Okay, so get this. You send us some articles about UNCG,
Mm-hmm.
and we find this story about a group of students remaking the entire first Harry Potter movie,
No.
shot for shot, on a college student budget. I know you went to UNCG,
Yeah.
so this has got to be pretty close to home for you.
It really is, and it's amazing what can happen when you combine creativity with constraint.
Right.
This article from UNCG's news site really shows how these students turned limitations into straight-up innovation.
Yeah, and it all started with a broken trampoline.
Wow.
These students were living in this house they called Doggie House, and they were super into the DIY music scene.
Right.
But then, of course, the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
Live shows shut down.
Yeah.
And so they took this busted trampoline and turned their backyard into a stage.
Oh, that's so classic. Like a total house show move, you know, making the most of what you have and just creating something cool and different.
Right.
And Doggie House became this hub for local music, a place for connection and creative expression.
Exactly. But here's where things get really interesting.
Uh-huh.
So one night, they're hanging out, having a Harry Potter marathon.
Okay.
And somewhere between the butterbeer and the birdie bots, every flavor beans, someone has this idea.
Uh-huh.
They're like, why not remake Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, shot for shot, but with their own comedic spin?
That's amazing. It's interesting how their experience with house shows seems to have influenced this huge project.
Yeah.
It's that same scrappy, collaborative energy that let's just figure it out as we go attitude.
Yeah.
And they took that energy and used it for filmmaking, even though it ended up taking 3 years.
3 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And remember, no budget here.
Right.
They were funding it week to week
Yeah.
with whatever extra money they could find.
That's incredible.
It really shows how dedicated they were. And it makes me wonder, did they plan for it to be this long? Or did they just get so caught up in it that they couldn't stop?
It's a great question. It seems like they thought it would be a much shorter project at first, maybe a few weeks. But then as they got more into it, they realized how big of a project it actually was. But they didn't back down from the challenge.
No,
They totally embraced it.
And they had to get creative. Right. Like, how do you even recreate those magical effects without any money?
Well, this is where their resourcefulness comes in. They had to think outside the box, come up with solutions using everyday things. Remember how they used that broken trampoline as a stage?
Oh, yeah.
It's that same DIY energy all throughout the movie.
I bet there are some hilarious behind-the-scenes stories about how they filmed certain scenes.
Oh, definitely.
And speaking of pulling things off, let's talk about this crew, because they are multi-talented. We've got Atkinson playing Hermione and one of the Dumbledores. Wait, 2 Dumbledores.
Yeah, you heard right. They decided to have 2 actors play Dumbledore standing side by side. It's just one example of their fun and unique take on the original story.
I love that. And then there's Ellis playing Draco Malfoy and composing the soundtrack. Snee playing all the Weasleys and do the Foley sound effects. These guys were doing it all.
Yeah, and it really shows how collaborative this project was. It wasn't just about individual roles. It was about everyone coming together, sharing their talents, learning from each other, and creating something bigger than themselves.
Okay. So I need to know more about this whole Dumbledore situation.
Okay.
Was that planned from the start, or did it happen because of some crazy accident? And what about the rest of the casting? Did everyone just naturally fall into their roles?
That's a great question, and that's actually where we're going to pick things up next time. They talked about how the casting process was very organic with a lot of improvisation and experimenting, and the Dumbledore? That's a whole other story. Turns out it was a total accident. They couldn't decide which friend was the most Dumbledore-y, so they just went with both.
Oh, that's great. That must have been hilarious to see on set. Shows they weren't afraid to have a little fun with it. But okay, let's get technical for a minute. How did they even film those big scenes? Like the Quidditch match or that giant chessboard?
I mean, imagine that chess scene. They used action figures for the chess pieces. Yeah. And then filmed it all against a green screen and added the backgrounds later.
Action figures. Seriously. That is so cool. It really makes you appreciate how clever they were.
Yeah.
Did they talk about any other DIY tricks they used?
Oh, yeah. Remember Walton? He was the voice of the Sorting Hat and did all the 2D animation. He talked about making the opening Doggie House logo completely by hand, tracing it onto like 100 different sheets to make that flipbook effect.
100 sheets? That's wild.
Yeah.
You have to be so patient for something like that. It's incredible how much effort they put into making their vision a reality, even with all the limitations.
And that really shows in the final product. It's not just some cheap knockoff. It's a totally fresh take on the story with their own humor and personality woven in.
You know, most people would have given up when things got tough, but they didn't. They actually turned those obstacles into opportunities to be even more creative.
Exactly. And that can-do attitude goes beyond just the technical stuff. It's about their willingness to collaborate, learn new things, and just really love what they're doing.
Yeah. They talked about Doggie House being like a second home. And you can really feel that sense of community when you watch the film. It's more than just a movie. It's like a celebration of friendship and passion.
It's like that saying, the best way to learn is by doing. And these students totally lived by that. They jumped headfirst into this project and came out with a ton of new skills and experiences.
And it all started with a broken trampoline and a love for Harry Potter. It makes you wonder what other creative sparks are hidden in plain sight, right?
Totally. Their journey is a great reminder that sometimes the most unexpected paths lead to the most amazing places.
Speaking of paths, they didn't just stop at filmmaking. They actually turned Doggie House into a real production company.
Yeah.
I bet that came with its own set of challenges and rewards.
It sounds like that entrepreneurial spirit was always there, you know? They were already putting on shows, managing all the logistics, building a community around Doggie House. It was like a mini production company already.
So in a way, the film was like practice for what they're doing now.
Yeah.
They were sharpening their skills, trying things out, building the foundation for something bigger.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that they're using their platform to help their community. They're creating opportunities for other artists and building that same inclusive and collaborative environment that made Doggie House so special.
Okay, so they went from a broken trampoline to viral filmmakers to running a production company. What do you think is the biggest lesson we can learn from all this?
I think it's about being open to the unknown. They didn't let fear or self-doubt get in the way. They went for it, learned along the way, and surrounded themselves with supportive people.
And look where they ended up. From a backyard stage to a production company. It's such an inspiring story of creativity, community, and following your dreams, even if the journey is a little unconventional.
And who knows, maybe their story will inspire other people to take that leap of faith, dust off those old passion projects, and create something amazing with their friends.
I think that's a perfect place to leave it for now. Remember, you never know where creativity will lead you. So what's that one thing you've always wanted to try but haven't yet? Maybe now's the time to give it a shot.
You might just surprise yourself.
It's funny thinking back to those articles about UNCG. This whole story really captures the vibe of the campus. You know, like remember when we were walking around and saw that outdoor stage by the library?
Yeah.
I bet the Doggie House crew would have loved to do a show there.
It's true. Certain places just seem to attract creative energy. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Doggie House crew found inspiration all over UNCG, you know? It's a campus with such a cool history of arts and innovation.
For sure. And their story has me thinking, what random thing in my life could I turn into some crazy creative project?
Yeah.
I'm looking around my apartment right now like, could that old lamp be a spaceship? Or those mismatched socks, puppets?
That's what creativity is all about, right? Seeing the potential in things that other people might overlook. Who knows? Maybe those socks are meant to be stars.
You never know. But seriously,
Yeah.
the big takeaway for me is that you don't need a fancy studio or tons of money to make something amazing.
Yeah.
The Doggie House crew showed that with a little imagination, passion, and a good group of people, you can do anything.
Absolutely. And their story is really encouraging for anyone who's ever felt intimidated by the creative process.
Right.
It's not about being perfect. It's about trying things out, you know, embracing the unknown, learning as you go, and being okay with making mistakes.
And sometimes those mistakes turn out to be the best ideas, like the two Dumbledores.
Exactly. Sometimes the most unexpected things lead to the coolest outcomes. And I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of the Doggie House crew. They've got that drive to keep pushing the limits and making awesome things.
So to all the filmmakers, artists, and dreamers out there, remember the Doggie House crew. Remember that a broken trampoline can be a stage, a backyard can be a film set, and a crazy idea can become real. All it takes is some courage, a lot of heart, and the willingness to try something new.
And hey, maybe someday we'll be doing a deep dive on your creative journey.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But this conversation doesn't have to end here. Head over to our website for more information, links to the sources, a whole lot more. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.